What if the most expensive wedding in history was actually the final move in a chess game that began with a birthday dance-off? What if every leaked text, every lawsuit, and every headline was orchestrated by someone pulling the strings from the shadows? By the time you finish watching this video, you'll understand why some billionaire battles are fought not in boardrooms or courthouses, but in the pages of tabloids and in the hearts of the women caught between them. The world's most powerful men compete with more than just missiles and income streams. Sometimes they wage war through the people closest to their rivals. And sometimes those people become willing participants in a game where love, revenge, and ambition merge into something far more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. Just days before Lauren Sanchez was scheduled to marry Jeff Bezos in what was being called the wedding of the decade, a lavish Venetian ceremony estimated to cost over 50 million reports surfaced that she had been hit with a major federal lawsuit. Sources close to the situation leaked details to the press, and what began as a seemingly straightforward legal dispute exploded into a headline-grabbing scandal that had entertainment blogs and major media outlets scrambling for more information. The timing couldn't have been more dramatic or devastating. As wedding planners put finishing touches on what was supposed to be a fairy tale celebration in the romantic canals of Venice, lawyers were filing court documents that threatened to unravel everything Sanchez had built. Once the leak started, there was no containing it. Media outlets jumped on the story with the kind of fervor usually reserved for major political scandals or celebrity meltdowns. Now everyone was asking the same crucial questions. What really caused this explosive legal battle? Was this just an unfortunate coincidence, or was something more sinister at play? And most importantly, was this the beginning of the end for one of the most scrutinized couples in the tech and entertainment world? The lawsuit came from an unexpected source, Alana Zabel, a yoga instructor turned wellness entrepreneur who had built a respected career in mindfulness and spiritual guidance over more than 2 decades. Zabel had founded a comprehensive yoga and lifestyle brand that encompassed physical studios, activewear lines, and various wellness products designed to support people on their spiritual journeys. Creative expression had always been a significant part of her work, leading her to author several children's books and personal memoirs that blended her spiritual insights with storytelling. But it was one particular children's book that would become the center of a legal storm that threatened to destroy relationships, reputations, and carefully constructed public images. Zabel had written a book called Dharma Kitty Goes to Mars, a whimsical story that combined her love of spirituality with space exploration themes. According to her federal lawsuit, Lauren Sanchez had essentially stolen this entire concept to create her own book, The Fly Who Flew to Space, which had gone on to hit the New York Times bestseller list. This wasn't just an accusation of subtle borrowing or similar themes. Zabel was claiming that Sanchez had lifted her entire story, flipped certain elements, and turned it into a best-selling book that helped fuel her image as a media-savvy author and space-age influencer. The lawsuit alleged that Sanchez had copied the book verbatim, stealing everything from individual scenes to the overall plot structure and thematic elements. But the accusations went beyond simple plagiarism. According to Zabel's filing, Sanchez had taken the pettiness to another level by designing her Blue Origin flight suit to look exactly like the one described in Dharma Kitty Goes to Mars. This wasn't presented as a random coincidence or innocent similarity. It was portrayed as Sanchez's calculated way of rubbing salt in the wound, a deliberate mockery of the very work she had allegedly stolen. The backstory revealed in the court documents made the situation even more dramatic and personal. According to Zabel's filing, the animosity between the two women could be traced back to something completely ridiculous: a dance-off at Sanchez's 40th birthday party that had gone sideways. Zabel claimed that this incident had created lasting bad blood between them, and that Sanchez had decided to get revenge in the most calculated way possible. The two women had met back in 2008 when Zabel started doing private yoga sessions with Sanchez. Their friendship had grown tight over the years, with them sharing personal information, developing inside jokes and nicknames, and building the kind of trust that comes with genuine intimacy. They had even started working together on developing the children's book that would later become the source of their legal battle. So, if Zabel's version of events was accurate, Sanchez had taken this shared creative project, something they had developed together as friends, and turned it into a bestseller while completely cutting out the person who had helped create it. The betrayal was made even more painful by the fact that their friendship had fallen apart not long after they signed a non-disclosure agreement tied to their creative collaboration. The lawsuit painted a picture of a friendship destroyed by ego, jealousy, and calculated revenge. What had started as a professional relationship between a wellness expert and her client had evolved into something deeper, then devolved into something toxic and destructive. The dance-off incident, whatever had actually happened, had apparently been the catalyst that transformed collaboration into competition and friendship into warfare. But according to multiple sources close to the situation, there might have been more going on than just a straightforward copyright dispute between two former friends. Word was circulating in tech and entertainment circles that Alana Zabel had not decided to take legal action on her own. Multiple sources were suggesting that Elon Musk was secretly supporting Zabel's lawsuit from behind the scenes, providing either financial backing, legal resources, or strategic guidance. The timing seemed too convenient to be coincidental, especially when viewed in the context of Musk's ongoing competition with Bezos through their respective space companies. Musk and Sanchez had had a complicated relationship for years, with some sources claiming she had helped facilitate conversations between Musk and Bezos during the early days of their space ventures. If that was true, she would have had inside knowledge about both operations, making her a valuable asset or a dangerous liability, depending on where her loyalties lay. Musk had never been shy about taking shots at Bezos, especially when it came to their space race rivalry. The competition between SpaceX and Blue Origin had grown increasingly bitter over the years, with both companies vying for government contracts, media attention, and the prestige of being seen as the leader in commercial space exploration. Having this lawsuit surface right before Bezos' wedding would have been exactly the kind of strategic move that fit Musk's playbook of unconventional warfare. If these rumors about Musk's involvement turned out to be accurate, then the situation became much bigger than a fight over a children's book. It would mean that Musk had found a way to mess with Bezos right before his most important personal moment, using Sanchez's alleged plagiarism as the perfect opening to cause maximum damage with minimal direct involvement. Just as the copyright lawsuit was making headlines and dominating entertainment news cycles, another scandal surfaced that made Sanchez's situation even more complicated and potentially damaging. This new controversy involved leaked private text messages that had apparently been sent from Sanchez to her brother about her relationship with Bezos. Those same messages had allegedly ended up being leaked to the National Enquirer right when the affair story was at its biggest and most damaging. This hit Bezos in a completely different way than the copyright lawsuit. While the plagiarism accusations were embarrassing and potentially costly, having private messages about their relationship show up in a tabloid was something else entirely. For someone with Bezos' wealth and public profile, this kind of leak could cause severe damage that went far beyond personal embarrassment. The timing made everything exponentially worse. Bezos was already dealing with one of the most expensive divorces in history with his ex-wife Mackenzie. The leaked messages added another layer of complexity and potential legal liability to an already messy situation. The National Enquirer story didn't just hurt his personal life. It had affected Amazon's stock price and his public image as a business leader. Prosecutors were now suggesting that Sanchez had been the source of these leaks, either directly or indirectly. Whether she had intended for the messages to become public or had been careless with sensitive information, the result was the same. Bezos's private life was being aired in the most embarrassing way possible, and his fiancée was being blamed for making it happen. Both of these situations, the plagiarism lawsuit and the leaked text messages, might have seemed unrelated on the surface, but they both revealed something significant about how Sanchez handled complex situations. The accusations suggested a pattern of strategic thinking that went beyond simple carelessness or bad luck. If the plagiarism allegations were true, it meant Sanchez had been willing to steal creative work from a friend and mentor to advance her own career and public image. If the leaked messages were intentional, it suggested she had been willing to use private information about her relationship as currency in media negotiations. Both scenarios painted a picture of someone who was comfortable making calculated moves that prioritized her own interests over loyalty, friendship, or discretion. Sanchez's reputation was taking serious damage from both angles, and that damage was inevitably reflecting on Jeff Bezos as well. His association with someone facing these kinds of accusations was affecting his own brand and public image. The situation was no longer just about her, it was about both of them, and about the people who might stand to benefit from their troubles. In a fight this messy and public, with this much money and ego at stake, nothing could be dismissed as coincidence. The question that kept emerging was whether all of this chaos was organic or whether someone had been orchestrating events from behind the scenes. Elon Musk's name kept surfacing in discussions about both scandals, even though he had been surprisingly quiet about the whole situation. His silence was actually making people more suspicious rather than less. When someone known for his provocative social media presence and willingness to engage in public feuds suddenly goes quiet during a major scandal involving his biggest competitor, that silence starts to look strategic rather than respectful. The business relationships between all three parties added another layer of complexity to the situation. Sanchez had reportedly had relationships with both men before everything went sideways. Some sources claimed she had helped facilitate conversations between Musk and Bezos during the early days of their space companies, when cooperation might have seemed more beneficial than competition. Those business relationships hadn't lasted, and things between Musk and Bezos had grown increasingly competitive and personal. Now, Sanchez found herself dealing with two separate legal problems at the same time, right when she was supposed to be celebrating the biggest moment of her personal life. Even though nobody could definitively prove that Musk was funding Zabel's lawsuit or had been involved in the message leaks, the timing had people in tech and media circles talking. The strategy would have made sense from a business perspective. If these legal problems damaged Sanchez's reputation, that would inevitably reflect poorly on Bezos as well. The copyright lawsuit made her look dishonest and opportunistic. The leaked message situation made both of them look untrustworthy and careless with sensitive information. Meanwhile, Musk got to sit back and watch his biggest competitor deal with personal drama that was translating into business headaches. The real story behind these legal problems went back more than a decade. Bezos and Musk had been competing openly since the beginning of their respective space ventures, fighting over government contracts, taking shots at each other in interviews, and basically treating space exploration like their personal battlefield. Their visions for the future were entirely different, which made the competition even more intense. Musk wanted to get people living on Mars through SpaceX's increasingly ambitious missions. Bezos thought the answer was building giant space stations through Blue Origin's more methodical approach. Both men had dumped billions into their projects, and neither one was willing to accept coming in second place. Sanchez fit into this rivalry because she was connected to both sides. She had relationships with people in Musk's circle before getting seriously involved with Bezos, which put her in a unique position where she knew things about both operations that could be valuable or damaging, depending on how that information was used. The timing of her current problems suggested that this Cold War between the two billionaires might be heating up into something more direct and personal. Instead of just competing over rocket technology and government contracts, the battle seemed to have moved into more intimate territory, where personal relationships became weapons and private information became ammunition. Sanchez had entered the billionaire orbit with her own ambitions and agenda, but somewhere along the way, she had become part of the battlefield rather than just an observer. Her relationship with Bezos had placed her at the heart of Blue Origin's public image, whether that had been intentional or not. Meanwhile, her past proximity to Musk, both socially and professionally, was drawing increasing scrutiny now that she was surrounded by scandal. To some insiders watching the situation unfold, it no longer looked like coincidence that both of her major legal problems had surfaced simultaneously. The copyright lawsuit and the leaked message scandal were already doing significant damage to both her and Bezos without requiring any direct involvement from their competitors. Bezos and Musk handled their public images completely differently, which was relevant to how these scandals were playing out. Bezos had always played it safe with corporate messaging and careful PR strategies designed to project stability and reliability. Musk did the opposite, posting random memes, giving his rockets weird names, and seeming to enjoy watching drama play out in public. This difference in style mattered because Musk didn't need to take any direct action to benefit from Sanchez's problems. The controversies were generating the kind of headlines that made Bezos look distracted and unreliable, while Musk could continue focusing on his business objectives without getting pulled into the drama. Sanchez had people talking long before any of these legal problems started. Her reputation in Hollywood and Silicon Valley circles hadn't been exactly subtle or understated. She had a documented pattern of getting involved with men who had serious money and power, and her dating history included professional athletes and tech executives. When people looked at the timeline of her relationship with Bezos, it seemed like she might have been deliberately targeting influential figures rather than just meeting people through normal social or professional channels. Once her affair with Bezos became public knowledge, the story practically wrote itself in the minds of observers and media commentators. Most people didn't see it as a genuine love story. The timing made everything look calculated and opportunistic. Bezos was still married to Mackenzie when the relationship with Sanchez started, which made Sanchez the other woman in one of the most expensive divorces in history. Public opinion turned against her pretty quickly. Instead of seeing someone who had fallen in love with the wrong person at the wrong time, people saw someone who had calculated her way into another billionaire's life. The gold digger accusations started almost immediately and never really stopped. Her background as a journalist and pilot should have given her credibility and respect, but those accomplishments got overshadowed by the relationship drama and the circumstances of how her romance with Bezos had begun. People focused more on her romantic choices than her professional achievements, which created a narrative that was difficult to overcome. The Venice wedding was supposed to be Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez's triumphant moment. They planned a multi-million-dollar celebration with luxury yachts and romantic canals from June 26-28, 2025, with the ceremony on June 27th at San Giorgio Maggiore. About 200 globally recognizable figures were scheduled to attend, including Oprah Winfrey, Bill Gates, Kim Kardashian, and Tom Brady. But instead of a power couple celebration, the event appeared tone-deaf against the backdrop of Blue Origin's problems, as the company continued falling behind SpaceX in every meaningful metric. Lauren Sanchez actively built her image as a serious philanthropist through her role as vice chairperson of the Bezos Earth Fund. She helped launch the Greening America's Cities initiative with a $400 million 7-year budget to create green spaces in underserved communities. In March 2024, she pledged $60 million to establish biomanufacturing and climate change research centers. Later that year, she and Bezos together committed another $60 million to the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation to restore over 1.6 million acres of land. Conservation International honored her with their Global Visionary Award for her conservation work. Beyond environmental causes, Sanchez worked with the Bezos Day One Fund, helping homeless families and, with This Is About Humanity, on the US-Mexico border. The Venice wedding proceeded as planned, but transformed from a celebration into a desperate attempt to project success while everything else crumbled. The massive expense and celebrity guest list couldn't hide that Bezos' space company was losing ground to its main competitor while he was distracted by personal crises. The timing of everything, lawsuits, leaked messages, wedding planning, and PR disasters, created a perfect storm that benefited exactly one person: Elon Musk. Whether he was directly involved or simply capitalized on organic chaos, the result was the same. The question that emerged: was Lauren Sanchez a willing participant in a larger game? Someone who understood that her role in the rivalry between two billionaires could be leveraged for her own benefit? Was she playing both sides, or simply caught in the crossfire of a war between titans? If you like this content, please like and subscribe.